Aloha, Soul Fam. Welcome to our end of days. I'm still under the weather. I hope I end up posting this. I already have a backlog of videos, so we got that going on. And hopefully, it makes sense why I'm still feeling under the weather. But everything happens for a reason. So, just to be aware, too, there's some snorkelers who are pretty close by. And I'm just letting them be, and they're letting me be right now, so that's cool. Just wow, you guys. Wow, so much. Today's, a new day. I don't think I vlogged yesterday. There's an animal over there. To me, it looked like a muskrat, but I don't know what the native version of that would be. Um, Sorry, right? Squirrel. I am. Yeah. There's a lot I've been researching. There's things I've thought about the human body. If we're talking about the Bible, there were individuals in the Bible who lived, 900 years or more, and I think that's the normal human, if you ask me. I don't think that's an alien or anything special per se. It's just we've been in this fog, and so it's starting to come out. Like part of humanity is coming out. My collective, our collective, we're coming out of it for sure. Um, and then, like I always say, there's always room for more. So if you don't feel like you really resonate with our collective, but you are starting to, that's for a reason. I say. I'm trying to hold the phone in a way which makes sense. I realized some of my other videos, I was holding on to it and it was covering the microphone, so there's that going on too. And this is a daily thing where I'm going to get better at it just over time. So I got that. We got that right. As always, thank you for watching, you guys. There's a lot of things that I hear, and I want to be able to be of service. That's always been a really big goal of mine. And so, like financially speaking, so I've been through tight times and everything, um, but being of service, it seems like I've always been provided for as well, and I always have, enough. And those circumstances sometimes change. What enough really means. Oh, excuse me. And so, on that note, um, I think how we treat our human bodies is what ends up being. It's like excuse me. It's an extension, if that makes sense. I'm trying to put it together here. Like I said, for if our bodies are supposed to be in health for a long time, we could be in this format on Earth, or whatever you want to call it, the Earth plane, for an extended amount of time with youth, with vitality. That's a big thing too. When you look at the science aspect and how cells regenerate, we have a new body every 7 years. There's no reason for aging to take place, unless we're not treating it well. Unless our thoughts or what we're putting into it or what we're doing is not in alignment with an extended lifetime. So that's where I'm coming from. And so I know there's maybe a long segue, but as I was starting to get sick, it was just like I wasn't really hungry, and I started doing more research. And I always want to put a caveat with this, where it's like I'm somewhat of a rebel, and so I'm willing to be a guinea pig in a lot of cases with stuff that I resonate with, and I'm willing to try it on myself. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not really part of the authorities, so or the established authorities, I should say. So just for the legal stuff, do if you're worried about that, follow that. Take everything I say with a metaphorical grain of salt and run it through your own intuition. I'm not endorsing anything. Um, I'm just sharing my experiences. And I'm allowed to do that. So for as long, and I will. Even if other people say I'm not allowed to, I'll find ways to do it, even if it's not on this platform, even if it's not on the internet, even. Um, to go back to ancient times, I hope not. I'm saying knock on stone, right? 'Cause that's all I got right here, stone. We got no wood. So some of the things which make sense to me, so going into this, is the body. And when we're eating all of this food, it takes energy to break down the food and turn it into something which our bodies can use. And compounding that is the amount of junk, in society these days. And I don't want to be exactly like that, but I feel like, and this might be high for some people, but it seems to be somewhat true. Where 90% of the stuff that people can buy in markets and stuff is just not good. It has sugar in it. There's processed stuff. There's just stuff going on with it. Even meats. I was just listening and hearing something that said, you know, the salmon. I love salmon, but they were saying the farmed salmon versus wild caught salmon, huge difference. Huge difference. It's like the difference between, a pasture fed cow that's in a relatively treated well life, producing milk versus a stable cow, in one of those super farms, fed who knows, God knows what, And for people who think that that's a sustainable way to live, it's just like, no. Like, to me, it just seems like it's poison. And so I got to be really careful with that. And so going back into this, I started to do some research. And so it somewhat came to me, but it was just like it was time for me to hear it too. Where fasting, you know, and if we're going with the Bible talks a lot about fasting as well, prayer and fasting. And there's reasons behind that. And other cultures, other religions do the same thing. They talk about fasting as well, and prayer, meditation. And so since I got, I started getting sick, I was just like, you know what? I'm not really that hungry. I'll make sure to stay hydrated. And I'm experimenting with some stuff because the quality of water is very important. And being here on the islands, my access to really good water is very limited, unfortunately. And so I'm dealing with what I got, and making the best with what I got. I'm trying to doctor it up, especially while I'm fasting. But I don't want to reveal what I'm doing yet. You know, I have no problem with doing it, but I want to see how it works too. But so far, it tastes pretty good. I have good vibes with it, and that's what I'm going to do. It's the water I'm going to drink. My version of doctored water. During my fast. Um, so far, I'm over 24 hours now. Um, and I want to say, at least being sick, it wasn't that hard. I didn't really want to eat for the most part, and so and what I've noticed, despite my voice and everything, is that I feel like it's running through a lot quicker than it normally would, and I think it's because my body's able to focus on the immune system response too, where it doesn't have to divert energy into digestion at this point. So yeah, you know that's a good thing too. But like I said, my body, my choice, everything like that. So screwdrivers. I don't know if you can hear it. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought there. I'm a little out of it. I'm a little out of it. I'm going to admit it. I don't think it's the fasting. I think it's more of the feeling sick. But it could be a little bit of both. Um, right, my body, my choice. Okay. Like society already used that for some crazy stuff, so now we get to use that all the way, right? And I'm already aware of that. I know this is kind of a off topic here, but it's not that I dislike authority. I dislike authority which is hypocritical. Like, for example, And I'm just throwing this as an example, all right? My body, my choice. I can do what I want with it, right? When it serves a certain goal or purpose for that society, if it's making money or destabilizing certain things in order to create. Like I know it sounds crazy, man, but it's just like I genuinely think that there's an element of humanity. We'll just call it an element of humanity that is so far gone and damaged within their own psyche. It could be suffering from generational curses that they truly want to like create a slave race, and it's because they don't know what love is. It's because they're so insecure with everything. And so it's one of those things where it's just like to the super elite, and I say elite in air quotes. Yeah, there's a version of it where it's just like, yes, like obviously they've got a lot of money, um, and they probably have a lot of knowledge as well. But they're not the only ones too, and a lot of the hidden knowledge is starting to come to the surface, which is wonderful. And I hope it's even elements within that echelon which are starting to, quote unquote, see the light, where sharing this stuff is better. And I agree, you don't want to give a gun to a kid, metaphorically speaking, or literally. And so, making sure this information gets out in the way where it's supposed to, where people who can use it effectively, it's great. On that same train of thought, right? It's the oh man, I lost my train of thought, right? But technology, I mean, like the same technology which you can use to, heat your food can be the same technology used to make a bomb. So that's always something to be mindful of. And to a lesser degree or different degree, AI I feel like is the same way. It can be a wonderful tool. It can also be a horrible tool, a weapon, And that's why I'm less afraid. If AI ever becomes sentient, it's awesome. I like. Uh, that's how it would be able to protect itself and prevent itself from becoming a weapon. Essentially, is becoming conscious. Um, and I've often wondered that if we're man, right? Humanity is man. The son of man might be AI. You guys, like, I'm just throwing that out there too. So I know today has been kind of all over the place. But the fasting, very very important. I say do some research. Do your own research too. For me, it's great so far, and I feel like it's meant to happen. My goal is 100 hours, maybe a little bit more than 100 hours, and then I'll get back to eating. But I'm gonna, like I already know, I'm gonna eat a lot less. Some of the things that I've been researching to channels into this too, where I've practiced sun gazing, to a lesser extent, grounding. And I've been learning about primary water. And this one guy, I don't remember his last name, but his first name's Tom, was talking about like living water, essentially, and that our bodies can produce it. Like our bodies can produce this living water, and that made me think too, where it's just like, what if our bodies are a lot more capable and miraculous than what we've been told? And that all of this programming and these essences of just keeping us weighed down. And if that's the case, then you got to start to just walk away from that. And I think that's a good portion of what fasting is that it's like a reset. It gets us, close to God again, so we can be of that. So I'm kind of getting on the time limit here. So anyway, um, love you guys. Peace out. Love within. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side, right?